Welcome back to another live streaming meditation with Healthy Minds Innovations. My name is Jay. Nice to be back. In case you don't know, Healthy Minds Innovations is a nonprofit dedicating to translating science into tools for well-being. For example, live streaming meditations like this one. There's also a Healthy Minds app and other programs. And the theme for this week is a big one. When I received it in my inbox, I was kind of like, whoa, how to be present. In some ways, that's a summary of the entire awareness component of well-being. And awareness is the foundation of other components of well-being. So it's a big question. And I thought I would actually try something a little different today. So we're going to experiment a little, and we're going to be using the chat box. So if you're there, if you're with me, feel free to say hello in the chat box. Let me know your name, where you're from. And just if I see you in there, I'll know we can actually play around with the chat box a little bit and do some exercises, some interactive conversation as a community here. So in general, I wanted to talk a little bit about the reason to be present and its importance. These practices often feel like something you go and do. So you carve out 15 minutes in your day, for example, to tune into a live stream like this, and you dive in and you go and you do the practice, and maybe you close your eyes, you follow a certain guidance, and then the practice ends. And then you go back into your life and life continues as per normal. But specifically in the topic of awareness and the idea of how to be present, it becomes clearer than ever that that's not really the right framing necessarily, because you're practicing for something. We call it practice for a reason. And what you're practicing for is to apply these skills in life. So you go and you spend 15 minutes with me here practicing, and then when the world starts to happen around you and you're in conversations, possibly in conflict, you're taking care of chores, you're getting work done, how can you actually apply these skills in your daily life? And one of the most important things to realize here is, in the middle of a tough argument with your significant other or a work meeting, it's not always that easy to take 15 minutes to go somewhere, close your eyes, and focus on your breath or whatever practice you prefer. And so sometimes it can be really useful to have a kind of micro moment, or really hone in to a state of awareness very quickly for a short period of time to reorient yourself and get a bigger perspective. And that's what we're going to practice today. Instead of one long meditation, we're actually going to break it up into a couple of short micro moments, which we're going to do together and then discuss. So I see we have some people here: Robert, Craig, Caitlin, Lori, Liz. Nice to see you all. So let's give it a try. Instead of a whole okay, now let's get ready and get comfortable. What we're going to do is we're just going to take 30-second to 1-minute micro moments of different kinds of practices. And the two things I want you to keep note of: number one is take note of what you're noticing so we can kind of share it in the chat and communicate to each other a little bit. But then the other thing is to notice, of the different exercises we do, which one feels like it's something you can just drop into really quickly, because that's an important thing for you to know. When life gets in the way, when things get busy, that particular technique or that particular approach feels very accessible to you. Now, that might change over time, but that's something you kind of learn as you go. So let's try the first one, if you'll indulge me. So get comfortable. You can close your eyes if you'd like. And when I snap my fingers, I want you to just immediately become aware of the sound in the environment around you. We're only going to do this for 1 minute. So as soon as I snap my fingers, just immediately come online, pay attention to the sounds around you, and then I will leave silence, and I'll pick us back up 1 minute from now. So are you ready? Get comfortable. Close your eyes if you'd like. And now pay attention to the sound in your environment. Okay, nice work. Now I want you to share in the chat anything you heard, any sound you heard during that 1 minute micro practice, micro moment of sound awareness. So take a moment now to share in the chat. It can just be a name, could be a sound, the wind, traffic, a bird singing, whatever you heard, conversation nearby, anything you're willing to share. And now we're going to move on to a different practice that we can take for a minute. But I want you to notice, like, that was just a minute. It's something you could fit in your day, something you could do just before stepping into a meeting or between meetings or just before, going to get your kid from the bedroom or just as soon as you wake up or anything like that. So seeing some stuff coming in. A humming fridge, yard trimmer, airplane, birds, street noises, refrigerator, the AC kicked on, car. Wonderful. Nice work, everyone. This is great. Aircraft overhead, the HVAC, air filter, tinnitus. Oh yeah, that's a big one, Craig. I feel you there. Footsteps, crinkling sound, birds outside. Beautiful. Nice work, everyone. This is exactly what we're going to do. So let's try it again. This time, I'm going to snap my fingers. I'm going to give you 1 minute. But this time, I want you to try to pay attention to what thoughts come up. So maybe no thought comes up. Maybe a couple of fragmented thoughts come up. Maybe a certain very clear thought arises. But basically, as soon as I snap my fingers, just rest in awareness. Kind of like you're playing catch and you're waiting for the other person to throw the ball. Just wait for the next thought to arise. And sometimes it'll take you away, and that's fine, perfectly normal. But see if you can at least identify 1 or 2 thoughts that arise in this minute. So are you ready? Get comfortable. You can close your eyes if you'd like. And here we go. Pay attention to whatever thoughts come up in the next minute. Okay, now share in the chat any thought you might have noticed, anything you're comfortable sharing. Obviously, you don't have to share anything you don't want to. But what was on your mind? So I, for example, about 35 seconds in or so, and I know that because I was timing it for us, the thought came up where I started trying to plan what I was going to say after the minute was up. And I noticed my brain kind of rehearsing what I was going to say. And then I kind of smiled at myself and said, whatever, I'm just going to talk about this. So here I am talking about it. So that's a thought awareness, and that's a different kind of practice you can do, and sometimes can be really useful to engage in a quick minute, especially as I've felt a lot, kind of overrun with a lot of projects on the go, just like what's on my mind. It can be a really important question to ask. So again, feel free to share in the chat. Let's move on to a third micro moment here. This time, we're going to do a micro moment of body awareness. So what I want you to do is take this minute to notice whatever sensations arise in your body. So it could be just a little tingling. It could be the pressure on your chair. It could be the breath or the heartbeat. It could be anything. It could be also nothing, which is also worth noticing. So sometimes these emotional sensations can be physical sensations, like the feeling of this shirt, or, a little tickle on my leg, or pain even. But sometimes they can be more emotional, like a tension in the shoulders, in the chest. And if that happens, I encourage you to kind of interrogate what that emotion is. Like, oh, it's not just tension, it's actually stress. Or I'm holding a lot of, love in my jaw or something like that. Or I'm feeling overwhelmed or whatever it might be. So let's take a minute here to hone in on body sensations. When I snap my fingers, paying attention, just immediately coming online and paying attention to whatever you might notice in your body. Ready? Get comfortable. You know the drill now. Close your eyes if you'd like. And here we go. Okay, so no need to do any kind of self-judgment or criticism here, just bringing that sense of open curiosity to whatever you notice. Anything that might have arisen or not is okay. Feel free to share in the chat. What did you notice in your body? In the meantime, take a look at some of the thoughts you shared here. Don't want to close my eyes. What's next? Yeah, that's very frequent that our mind just jumps to the future or the past. A song stuck in the head, that's great. Getting plants, job interview, seeing family. Yeah, lots on the mind these days. Even in just a minute of awareness, some really big things can arise. And often I find when I tune into my thoughts, I get an immediate sense of like what's on my mind, like what's been preoccupying me. I think it's kind of funny that in Latin-based languages like Italian, the word for stressed is preoccupata, which is like the word we use in English for preoccupied. So it's very, very relevant. Oh, thanks for sharing. Julie noticed how hungry she was. That's wonderful. Hi, Julie. Lori noticed the supportive chair on the floor. Notice the breath. Notice the sensation of the sinuses. Craig, fatigue, headache, sore Achilles, tinnitus, tight left calf, pressure on the hips, cool breeze coming through the window. Oh, I wish we could all feel that, Christine. Lower back, very real for me. Same with Robert, some back pain. So interesting. In just a minute, we can get some significant awareness of what's going on in our body and what's going on in our mind. And often we don't have time, to do a full 15, 20-minute meditation. I still think that's very important. The depth you can get is incomparable to a 1-minute practice like this. But in the midst of your day, especially like I've got a 1-year-old, it's not always easy to wake up in the morning and meditate. It's really easy to fit in a minute. You're going for a walk, you're going somewhere, you're just taking a break, you're waiting for something, waiting for someone, about to start a meeting. It can be really powerful to take a minute like this. Also, I want to draw your attention to how beautifully diverse the comments are, that there's different things on our minds, different feelings we have in our body, and that's all something we can embrace, something we can be okay with. So let's move on to another 1-minute practice. This time we're going to do it with vision. So we're going to take 1 minute, and this is going to be an outward vision, and afterwards we're going to do an inner vision. So for this one, keep your eyes open. If you want, you can choose a place to fixate your gaze, or you can let your eyes wander and notice where they naturally wander to, whatever feels more comfortable for you. But when I snap my fingers, I want you to take 1 minute and pay complete attention to the visual world. And this doesn't mean just looking at things and naming them, but really the texture, the color, subtle movements, gross movements, whatever you might notice in your visual field. Not trying to process and understand it, but just noticing it as a pattern of light and a pattern of movement and texture and color. So get comfortable. If you've chosen a place to fixate your gaze, go ahead and fixate your gaze there. And when you're ready, 1 minute of being fully present and aware of your visual field externally. You ready? Here we go. Okay, so go ahead and share whatever you noticed in the chat. Could be the name of an object you were looking at, but maybe it's more subtle, like I never noticed the subtle texture of a leaf before, or whatever it might be. For me, I was actually fixating on the camera, which may have looked creepy if you looked at the screen. But I noticed my eyes actually just flickering between my timer because I was, I'm timing a minute. And clearly I have been doing this for all the sessions so far, but I just noticed for the first time this like rapid flick that I do just to check the time to see if it's been a minute. I hadn't really paid attention to that before. So this is kind of interesting, right? It's a different way to practice something that might be more applicable in different kinds of situations. So now we're going to do the inner screen. So our ability to actually see also exists in our mind. We have kind of the mind's eye, as it's often referred. So just as an experiment before we get started, I want you to just picture an elephant. So that's your mind's eye. And if you close your eyes and you picture an elephant, you might get a sense of the spatial location of this inner screen of the mind. And one of the things that's kind of interesting about the inner screen, something that I've noticed in my practice, is often if I'm practicing with the mental screen, and then I hear a sound, for example, I hear my cat meow, immediately, without any kind of control, automatically a fleeting image of my cat appears on my inner screen. And then either I can focus on it and actually kind of look at that picture, or it fades away. So you might notice really quick fleeting impressions, or you might notice a very clear mental image. Certainly this is a little different for all of us, and we'll get to share that in the chat. So for this one, I might recommend you close your eyes because it tends to be easier. But if you've done this kind of thing before and you want to keep your eyes open, you're more than welcome to. So for the next 30 seconds, or the next minute, get comfortable, close your eyes. I'm going to snap my fingers, and I just want you to notice if any mental images arise in your mind. They could be related to thoughts you're having. They could be related to sounds in the environment. They could be, who knows what they're related to. They could be just feel kind of random. And just see what comes up for a minute, okay? So you ready? Here we go. Pop. Okay, so please share anything you're comfortable sharing in the chat about whatever came up. It may be something you can easily name. It may be just like a warbly blue-green ooze or something like that. That's perfectly fine. Let's take a look at what you saw outside. So Lori really enjoyed looking outside. Blue sky, trees, birds, bugs, beautiful. I like the kind of macro and the micro with the big blue sky and the bugs. They're very, very powerful awareness. Craig saw 2 butterflies cavorting. Oh, that's beautiful. Caitlin noticed how much movement there is outside in the plants and the shadows and how still my houseplants are inside. Fascinating observation of the contrast there. Christine, thank you for sharing. Tree outside my window, enjoying the gentle breeze as much as I am. Yeah, so beautiful, beautiful nature scenes happening here. This is great. Robert saw the gentle glowing flicker of a lit candle. It's a great place to fixate your gaze. Beautiful. Green greens from Jess. Liz, tree, movement, shape, shadows, birds, insect, and trees in my periphery. So a lot of looking outside. I would have done the same thing. Beautiful. Always calms me down to look outside. Definitely something you can apply in your life, right? You're about to go into a very stressful meeting or deliver a presentation. You find a window nearby and you just take 1 minute to really look outside for a minute. And if this is a practice that's accessible, really can help kind of bring you back to the present. So it's kind of a practical tool to be present in the moment. Let's see what we saw in our mind's eye. So for me, actually, I had glanced at the chat of your previous comments, but right before I went into the mind's eye and I saw a couple of the words like trees and nature and wind. So when I closed my eyes in my mind's eye, I kept seeing just trees blowing in the wind. It was just clearly a residue from the words that you had shared a second ago. So let's see what came up for you guys. Craig saw the Mahabodhi Temple. Is that the one in Bodh Gaya? I've been there. It's a beautiful place. Wonderful. What an interesting thing to picture. Caitlin remembered part of a dream from this morning and what it looked like. So yeah, it was a visual memory of the dream. Often we think of memory as a verbal thing, but yes, it can be very visual, right? Jess felt very clear and felt the need to tell others. That's great. Lori saw an elephant her son painted. And my face, yeah, there's like a residue. You just close your eyes right after looking at me. I'm sorry to have intruded in your thoughts in that way. And my daughter, because she interrupted you. Yeah, so there you go. Monica saw the image of a bird singing and then floated to beyond the bird to the broader landscape and back to the bird when I heard it again. So interesting. Like, see, I don't often have very flowing movement like that, like scene change the way Monica did. So thank you for sharing another moment to celebrate the diversity of experiences we have. Liz saw a memory of a time in a park with my kids when they were small. Oh, beautiful, beautiful gardens and color. The fact that you mentioned color, Liz, it's like there's a vividness there. I love that. Robert's still thinking back to the elephant illustration, remembering a dream from a long time ago that involved an elephant. So just that idea that I brought an elephant to our minds. Two people actually, Lori and Robert, both had elephants come up, right? And Christine, sadness of a baby elephant that died after being born years ago at the San Diego. Oh, yeah. I just said the word elephant, and Christine really had a trigger there. And Craig, yeah, the Bodhi Temple. Okay, so we're almost done. Thank you for indulging me on this experiment here. We're going to do one more. We're just going to do 1 minute, and I'm just going to invite you to open up to whatever you experience. So no specific sense gate. So we were using kind of a focus space of the body, of sound, of vision. In this case, I want you to open it up completely. It could be thoughts that arise. It could be sounds in the environment. It could be a mental image or light outside or on the back of your eyelids. It could be sensations in the body. Just let your attention wander to wherever it may go naturally and just notice that and see if you can bring open curiosity and awareness to wherever your attention naturally wanders in the next minute. So get comfortable. This is the last one. We're going to do a minute. You can close your eyes if you'd like, starting now. Okay. Good work, everybody. And this time, I want you to not share what you noticed in the chat, but just share which sense gate you were drawn to. Was it vision? Was it the mental screen? Was it thoughts? Was it sounds? Was it the body? Just share where you were drawn. And if you want to share what you were drawn to, you're more than welcome to. And just a few words before we close out. As I mentioned, this is a very practical tool to be used to speak to the theme of how to be present. I kind of interpret it as how to be present in daily life. And really these skills are most useful if you apply them and you practice applying them until they reach a point where after years, I've been doing this for over a decade, where I naturally start to do this. Like, it doesn't have to be a studied, I'm going to do my 1 minute mindfulness now. I find myself naturally doing this. I've sort of built the habit. This is not the habit of sitting for 20 minutes a day. This is a different habit. This is the mental habit of really taking a moment to pay attention to the world around you and the world inside you whenever you can. And one of the things that one of my teachers says that I really sticks with me is around the motivation of your practice is to make it a page turner. Is that, everyone knows what it's like to read a book that's just kind of a struggle to read, and you can't even really follow the writing, and you're not that into it, and you're forcing yourself to read it, and then eventually maybe you give up, or maybe you force yourself. If it's like a school textbook, maybe you have to read it. Versus the experience of actually picking up a book that you can't put down and that you want to get back. Like, it's almost like your whole day is an obstacle to get to that next chapter at the end of your day when you have a moment to read. I'm reading something like that right now, so it's very alive for me. And the idea is this sense of make your practice a page turner. So if these 1 minute meditations are the thing that really grasps at you and feels encouraging, and maybe specifically the thought lens or the body lens is something that really feels encouraging to you, so much so that you're like excited to do that practice to find out where your body's at today or to find out what's on your mind. That's really the key to stick to this practice, is to find a way to make it a page turner, to make it that book that you just can't put down, so that instead of like another thing on your to-do list, whether it's your 15-minute meditation or the 1 minute you take at lunch or whatever it might be, that you look forward to it because you want to know where your body's at and you want to know the thoughts that are on your mind and the way it's coming down. So thank you so much. And really, I want to celebrate the diversity here in the chat. We've got sounds, we've got vision, we've got body. We're all different. So when you listen to a guy like me talk about this, or other people, they might be talking one approach, other people might be talking another approach, but it's really up to you to find the approach that's going to be a page turner for you. So thank you so much for sharing in the chat. I really appreciate you being on this experiment. Robert shared that a memory of what you were just doing. Jess had a memory too. Lori was thinking about the practice. It'd be nice to have the sound of my finger snap. Your phone can do that for you. You can set up a little alarms, and you can set up the time, the sound to be a snap or something really cogent. And I love the dichotomy of our phone, as opposed to blinking to steal our attention away to some email or text message, but to actually set up our phone to sort of blip to remind us to be present. A lot of the monastics do this with the singing bowls as well. They ring the bell every hour, and everyone takes a moment. All the monks take a moment to be present. So thank you for being with me. Again, thanks to Healthy Minds Innovations. You can always subscribe to the channel, and you can set up notifications. On Monday, Daniela is going to be leading a Spanish guidance at 6 Eastern, 5 Central, 3 Pacific. And this Tuesday, actually, Cortland's subbing in for Stephanie. So Cortland's wonderful. He's going to be leading a practice at 12 Central. I'll be back, not next Thursday, but the Thursday after, because we're alternating weeks now. Thank you so much. Take care. Hope you're safe and well. Hope you're finding balance. And really, it's just a pleasure to be with you. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions or comments or words you want to share on Twitter, or you can find me online. My email's there. Thanks a lot. Take care.